We do hope that you'll remain engaged with the university and return to the campus again and again, whether it's as a friend, a parent, benefactor or student, or simply to reconnect with your experience here. So congratulations once more to our brilliant new graduates. May you find success and fulfilment in every aspect of your lives. Congratulations. Huge pleasure now to introduce our guest speaker for today, Mr. Mark Panayiotis Notaras, founder of the Timor-Leste Food Lab and its flagship restaurant, Agora Food Studio. Mark has walked a diverse path in his 22-year career for the Australian, German and Timor-Leste governments, the United Nations, international non-government organisations and the private sector, including 13 years in Asia, in Timor-Leste, Japan, China, Thailand, Vietnam and Indonesia. In his most recent leadership role as General Manager for multicultural marketing agency Cultural Pulse, Mark directed the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup multicultural fan engagement strategy and team. A proud University of Sydney alumnus, Mark graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce Honours in Government and International Relations. Mark is a 2013 Rotary Peace Fellow, recognised for his work in Timor-Leste, and is currently a 2024 Asia Link Leaders Program Fellow. Mark, it's a great pleasure to welcome you back to the university, and I invite you to give your occasional address.
Presiding Officer, Professor Tony Masters, Presenting Dean, Professor Suresh Kuganesan, thank you for your warm welcome. Faculty, staff, distinguished guests, families and friends, and most importantly, graduates. Let's talk about trust. I did not always trust myself, and today I feel compelled to share this story on this sacred land where stories have been shared for more than 65,000 years. I acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and their elders past and present. I extend that respect to all First Nations people with us today. I thank the University of Sydney Business School for inviting me back to where my adult journey began. Raise your hands if you knew that the golden line on the University of Sydney crest represents courage. One person at the back. This is a very honest audience, I like that. So I did not know that myself either, and I found out last week that the lion does indeed represent courage. And you may have seen this lion on buildings around campus, on university logos, on your program today, on our chairs, on our lecterns. Each of you have shown courage in graduating today, in completing your studies. Congratulations. For data analytics graduates, today is evidence of your hard work. For the finance graduates, today is a return on your investment, which will compound annually. And for the marketing graduates, when you promote today's ceremony on LinkedIn, don't forget to use the hashtag GradLife. When I was a well-behaved child, I was intrigued by my dad's then space-age technology. I was captivated by India's pink city, Jaipur, Indonesia's majestic Borobudur temple. My parents' wanderlust was inspired by their University of Sydney experience in the 1970s. They were both the first in their families to obtain higher education. My grandfathers left poverty-stricken Greece for a better life down under. Their sacrifices as entrepreneurial immigrants enabled us to access quality education. At the business school, I followed my fascination with this bigger world and studied economics and international relations. Yet I struggled to find my purpose. I did not yet trust myself. During my honours year in the Merriweather building, you may well know, I oscillated on a thesis topic. Perhaps you too think a lot about aligning your career with your purpose. I encourage you to proactively plant seeds for a future harvest. Always surround yourselves with energy-giving people and muster the courage to trust them. At my time of indecision, I trusted my supervisor more than I did myself. I took her sage advice and packed my research bags for an independent Timor-Leste, at the time Australia's newest neighbour. Her mentorship ignited passions in me that defined my life's greatest mission. Like you, I graduated here in this great hall, but I was not aware of the seeds I would be planting at the time. So what is trust? In English, we define trust as belief in the truth of something or someone. In Mandarin Chinese, there are a dozen terms that express belief, confidence, or faith in something true. In Sanskrit, the word shraddha evokes faith as a form of trust. Whatever your cultural context, you are here today because of trust. Firstly, you trusted yourselves to complete this difficult education mission. You trusted yourselves to move from abroad and study in a foreign language. Now that's not easy. You also trusted yourselves, some of you, to combine work with your study. Secondly, you trusted this institution to deliver a quality education. That's not surprising, since the business school is one of the best in the Asia Pacific. Thirdly, like me, your parents and advocates trusted you, supporting you morally, perhaps financially. In return, you listened attentively. You studied really hard. You passed every test, right? Even if you did not, that's okay. Excuse me. You may know the joy of looking back over your career and life to see how chances you took led to opportunities unforeseen. A decade later, I was back in Timor-Leste for the Australian government. Now armed with a master's from another university, I thought I had made it as an international development professional. I'd already worked in Canberra and Vietnam for the Australian International Agency for International Development. I later joined the United Nations in Tokyo, Japan. But something didn't feel right. I still did not trust myself to make that lion's leap. After 5 years in Timor-Leste, my co-founder and I embarked on an ambitious, some say very risky journey to establish the Timor-Leste Food Lab and our flagship restaurant, Agora Food Studio. Investing in my own business is the most difficult and is both the most difficult and demanding and invigorating work of my life. With more than financial profit in mind, we strive to activate national pride in Timorese cuisine and nurture generations of entrepreneurs. Countless people at the time told me, "Mark, that will never work." This particular phrase is motivational gold for entrepreneurs. I was finally trusting myself. 15 years into my career, I accelerated deep listening of myself. The truth was, I didn't shine brightest working in international development bureaucracies, as I had previously told myself. My true calling was entrepreneurial. But rather than choose between one identity and another, I married business principles with sustainable development skills I'd gained working in international aid. My message to you is, it's perfectly okay to change your notion of yourself, and I argue, essential to act on that change. But trusting yourself alone is not enough. As I trusted myself more, I trusted my colleagues more. I focused even harder on choreographing spaces for them to shine brightest. This accelerated my own career in the process. They quickly developed confidence to promote Timor-Leste's unique food and coffee to our customers. In 2019, our talented chefs, baristas, and mixologists added business and financial management to their skills menu. Our team was flying high. You may know what happens next. At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you. This is a quote from the great Denzel Washington, if you didn't guess already. COVID-19 landed, and we were forced to close the business and our income halted. I reluctantly took the last flight out of Dili to Australia. We wondered, after being knocked down, if we would ever get back up again. However, we maintained one non-depreciating asset, a high-trust team. I transformed from a face-to-face manager to an online business coach. As lockdowns came and went, My physical absence opened up opportunities for our team to grow, to revive the business, and then to manage it in their own image. I observed in reality the adage that leadership is what happens when you're not there. Last year, in a traditional ceremony in Dili, we handed over our business to 5 Timorese entrepreneurs, including 4 dynamic young women. From our alumni community, 3 new restaurants proudly promote Timorese food and coffee, servicing the country's emerging tourism sector at a time where the nation's oil revenues are drying up. I really feel content when I see independent Timor-Leste's first generation of entrepreneurs trusting themselves to nurture the next generation. This impact in Australia's neighbour can be traced directly to what I learned here at the University of Sydney. You can see how trust is infectious if you just dare to share it a little. Raise your hands if you understand the concept of trust intelligence. That's interesting because I was going to introduce it as a concept today, but there's many ways to frame it. So as I leave you today, I want to frame trust as a form of intelligence. I call it trust intelligence, and it will be the foundation of my next piece of work. Think of trust intelligence as a cousin of emotional intelligence. I propose that trust intelligence, or TQ, is the ability to both trust yourself and understand the trustworthiness of other people. I ask you, what are your levels of trust intelligence? To what extent do you trust yourself truly? Your parents, your mentors, fellow graduates, and work colleagues. I recognise these are big philosophical questions for a Monday morning, so please take them on notice to ponder after you rightly celebrate your important milestone today. Finally, trust does not mean blindly believing others. After all, that's why we come to university, to think critically about our lives, business, and the greater world. If you take one piece of advice from this speech, let it be this. Trust people who, when you share your dreams and ideas, they respond by asking, what do you need to achieve that, and how can I support you? Time and energy invested in people who say, that'll never work, is not a wise investment. Which brings us back to that courageous University of Sydney line, who you will no doubt be seeing everywhere around campus now. I believe that to trust, you must first have courage. There is no greater courage than the courage to trust yourself. Trust me, and more importantly, trust yourselves. Thank you so much.
Well, what an engaging address that was. On behalf of the university, I would like to thank Mark Panayiotis Notaras for sharing some of your journey and your advice and your lessons with us. So please join me in another round of applause to thank Mark.